Oh, no, no, that's not. No. If you were here for the very, very start of the stream, or if you're watching the VODs, you saw nothing. I definitely did not fuck up starting the stream because my phone said that it was 5:58 p.m. and then I looked at my computer and it said it was actually 6:02 p.m. Anyways, what's up, watchers? Welcome back to another fucking Wednesday. This time we're getting bad ends. Oh gosh. My voice. Okay, so on Sunday I mentioned, like, hey, my throat's been kind of scratchy for a bit. I mean, hell, I had to cancel my Wednesday stream last week because I was trying to make it better and then it didn't work. Last time I was pretty stuffed up, felt pretty bad. I am pretty much not sick anymore. The only thing is that every now and again, my voice just stops working and I have to clear my throat. I don't know what the hell is up with that. Like, I have literally no other symptoms. It's like if I had gotten a fever at any point in this, if I had had like a really sore throat, if I'd had headaches, if I'd had like anything like that, would have been completely understandable. However, my fuck-ass body decided no. we're just gonna make you have, like, the illness equivalent of chapped lips for, like, 2 weeks straight. For no reason. It's like, thanks, body. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Anyways, I had things that I wanted to say at the start of stream today, and I completely forget what they are now. That's just how it goes. I'll be at work, I'll be, you know, like, doing my stuff with the samples, and I'll be like, oh man, this would be a great topic for me to talk about on stream. But obviously, it's like, I do carry a notebook at work. I don't want to be writing stream ideas in it, because I don't want my coworkers to find out about this. Not that I'm doing anything, like, bad on stream, outside of just, I don't know, being myself when I'm not at work. But even so, it's like, hey, I crafted a persona specifically for this workplace. We're not breaking it. I maintain kayfabe more, or kayfabe, or however you pronounce it. I maintain kayfabe more at work than I do as a VTuber. Oh, God. So anyways, I hope everyone is having a good day today. My day's been pretty solid. Finally, I remember last stream, I was just, like, complaining about not being able to find a good writing podcast that was actually, like, what I was looking for, which is just, I want to hear a bunch of friends who write discuss how they handle certain aspects of writing. And literally, Monday morning, whenever I do my big Monday drive, I take both of my 15-minute breaks, at the same time in the morning. It was something I originally wasn't going to do. Like, the guy who did this particular role before me, in, like, my first couple of weeks there when I was shadowing him, he was like, yeah, no, you're gonna want to do this because you're not gonna have the time to take 15-minute breaks while on the road. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. Like, I can't just take 2 15-minute breaks at the same time. That can't be allowed. And then I actually started doing it on my own, and I was like, oh no, I need to take both of them in the morning because I won't have time in the afternoon. So I was on my morning break at work right before I went driving, and I was just looking at these threads on Reddit that it's just like, hey, can you guys, like, suggest me some writing podcasts that don't have anything to do with publishing? And I found one called Writing About Dragons and shit, and so far, it's what I've been looking for. It's like, I don't agree with every piece of advice that's given, and I don't agree with, like, everything the hosts say. But I mean, that is also a part of writing advice that you kind of learn to accept whenever, not learn to accept, you kind of learn over time that whatever writing advice you hear, it's not gospel. And I actually appreciated this podcast a lot because in the very first episode, they say as much. They're like, yeah, our methods aren't gonna work for everyone. Like, what works for one writer isn't gonna work for someone else. You should never take writing advice as set in stone gospel, because none of it is. And it's like, hell yeah, thank you for acknowledging this. Because that is a trap that a lot of new writers fall into, from what I've heard. I mean, I kind of also fell into it whenever I was younger. I think it doesn't help that, like, a lot of people's first introduction to creative writing is in English class. And in English class, your teacher is going to want you to write in a very specific way. So when all that you have learned about in writing until now is, hey, you have to do these things, or else I'm going to tell you it's bad. Like, of course people are going to start taking fucking writing advice as, these are set in stone rules and you have to do them or else your story will explode into a million pieces and die. It's like, I get it. I get why that's a knee-jerk reaction for some people. But that's also why I appreciate this podcast for just being like, no, that's bullshit. Don't do it. It's like, there was a writing advice YouTuber that I watched a fuck ton of in, oh, wait a sec. Okay, sorry. I was getting a little notification on OBS, and for a second I thought the stream went down. It didn't. We're fine, I think. But, oh god, I lost my train of thought now. No! No! God damn it. God damn it. All right. Anyways, what I'm getting at here is, love it when there's writing advice that's good. Love it when there's, like, and I'm not even specifically looking for, like, okay, here's how to do this because you're struggling with it. It's more like, hey, I've been doing this on my own for some time. Be cool to hear about other people's methods. I mean, that's why I also talked to a friend in, like, my personal friend Discord about writing a whole lot. Because it's cool to hear other people's approaches. Geez. As mentioned, I'm going to be clearing my throat a lot. Anyways, I have now wasted a solid 10 minutes of your life just rambling. So I am going to start playing Steins Gate 0, because the other thing is, too, so I've been thinking, it's like, usually when, just a sec, let me just switch screens, there we go. Usually, I would aim for this to be around 2 hours, and I would typically try to break off at, like, a good place in the narrative. This time around, if the bad end, because we are on our way to the bad ending, and I'm not even joking, in the guide that I'm using, it's straight up just called The Bad Ending. If we get that after an hour has passed, then I am going to, like, just wrap up the stream there, because we're not going to be able to get into that much else with the other endings. So, I mean, there's no real sense in dragging it out if we just get the bad ending. So, also, to give a bit of a recap for last time. Hi, Life, welcome to the stream. To give a bit of a recap from the last time. Okay, so we started off, leaving the hospital. We talked to Suzuha, who tried to force Okabe to go into the time machine, at gunpoint. And then Daru kind of defused the situation. And, after that, Maho was, I believe, the lab and her hotel room was targeted. Was that before or after they just kind of went and hung out in Akihabara? People don't want to listen? Threaten them! I mean, I get it in Suzuha's case, because she does explain later on, it's like, yeah, no, like, the time machine's battery is running out. If Okabe doesn't change his mind soon, World War III is gonna fucking happen. And it's gonna suck. So it's like, nah, I get it, she was desperate. Shit happens. Gotta go, bro! But yeah, we did also hang out with Maho for a bit. We played crane games, she played racing games, we played more crane games. And then we went to Daru's nerd cave and got a call from Amadius that was like, oh no, that is, okay. So got a call from Amadius saying, hey, shit's fucked, you gotta go. And they just left the nerd cave right in time for like 3 suspicious dudes to enter the establishment. So that's where we are right now. We left off right as the chapter changed, and it's called Gehenna's Stigma. And if I remember correctly, Gehenna is like, isn't that a different word for hell? So, great name for a bad end. I'm a little bit nervous about what's about to happen, because this might be, remember how I was saying in, like, the past one? I'm like, hey, is a place of punishment or hell in Jewish and Christian eschatology. I hope I pronounced that word correctly. I have never had to say it out loud before, and I've never heard it said out loud. But yeah, that's what I figured. Also, I like the carpets here because they do remind me of the carpets at a place I used to work at. But yeah, it's like, I am kind of going back to my theory that I had during the little section where Okabe, like, time skipped into the future. Where it's like, okay, this is the timeline that leads to him getting tortured. Because in the last ending, Okabe also went forward into the future. And Daru was like, yeah, dude, you got, like, mega tortured for, like, 10 years. And, you were basically brain dead. And that's, like, we've been keeping you on life support this whole time. So it's like, if my theory that every one of these timelines is gonna be, like, adding one piece to the puzzle that leads to the video at the end of Steins Gate, like, reaching Okabe and allowing for the good timeline to happen, then there has to be a timeline where Okabe ends up getting tortured. Like, I don't know if they're gonna show it, is the thing, but considering the name of this ending, the fact that it's not tied to any of the characters, the fact that it's just, like, referred to as the bad ending. It's like, if that's gonna happen in this story, it's gonna happen on this timeline. We love life support! Alright, Victor Condria University's grounds were dead quiet. It was after 11 p.m. Some of the labs worked all night and into the morning, so the place wasn't completely abandoned. But compared to daytime, it was quiet. The lights in the halls were off, and it was a little scary walking down them alone. Maho lived in the researchers' apartments next to the lab. She'd been thinking about so many things that night, her head felt like it was going to explode. Then she looked out the window and realized that the lights were still on in the brain science lab. Dr. Leskinen must have been working late. She decided to put some coffee in a thermos and take it to him.
そもそもなんで私はタイムマシンの研究なんかに没頭しているのかしら
You're doing what? Huh? Ever since she'd come back from Japan in January, she spent all her free time on it. Even she had to admit that she was getting obsessed. Of course, since this wasn't something she could research in public, and since she couldn't let it interfere with her real job... Okay. For a second I thought, oh, when she went back to America, they're like, hey, guess what we're developing? But that makes a lot more sense. Since she couldn't let it interfere with her real job, she had to do all of it in her own room at night. As a result, she was staying up late battling with physics textbooks, an unfamiliar subject for her. Exhaustion and lack of sleep were starting to get to her. The whole idea of a time machine was stupid. She still thought so, but she was surprised at how desperate she was getting.
それもこれも岡部さんのせいよ
What Okabe had said to her in Japan still stuck with her. Oh right, Okabe told her about all the time travel shit. Rintaro could have been lying, or wrong, or simply delusional. But part of her wanted to believe it was real. Of course, from what she'd seen of Dr. Nakabachi's paper, she didn't want to believe Kurisu was involved. It was just that bad. But...
論文は劣化版で、もしもクリス自身が書いたオリジナルが存在するとしたら。
If she could have written it off as a slim possibility, everything would have been so much easier. But it was just like her, she thought, to be unable to do that. I want to find what Kurisu found. That desire was what drove her to action. But the more research she did, the harder it seemed. It was so hard she was starting to lose faith in what she wanted to believe. Her usual complex started weighing down on her.
クリス私 やっぱりあなたにはなれない
Yeah, nah, that's a losing battle. Kurisu was her dear friend, but at the same time, she was starting to feel jealous, frustrated, and hateful. One day I'll have the time, motivation, and money to read more VNs. I feel that. Like, I want to start reading Umineko When They Cry, because, I watched, like, a whole video series about Higurashi When They Cry, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting. I love a lot of... like the story decisions that were made in that. And I have to like read the whole thing myself because it was just like basically an analysis. That was like a recap of the whole plot. I watched the anime. From what I remember, it was good. Yeah, it's like, and from the sounds of it, like when it comes to VNs that are animes as well, I want to read the original VN because, I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but I got into Danganronpa through the anime, and I found that because of that, I wasn't really, like, as attached to a lot of the first game's characters as a lot of people were. Now, granted, I was very attached to Celestia Ludenberg just from her looks alone. That character is what got me to wear Lolita fashion. But yeah, it's like typically, like now I'm like, especially because, yeah, lore. Honestly, Celestia Ludenberg and Junko Enoshima are the two characters where I'm like, you know what, actually, wearing skirts is fucking awesome. Me looking at two fictional murderers being like, damn, they kind of look sick though, is the thing. To be fair, I watched the Steins Gate anime first, then I read the VN later. While I do think the VN is better, I still think both are fantastic peak pieces of media. Hell yeah, it's like, I'm not saying that the animes of visual novels are bad or anything. It's just like watching the Danganronpa 1 anime and then watching a playthrough of Super Danganronpa 2, which was not translated at the time. The guy who was playing it was literally like reading off a written fan translation as he went. And I was like way more fucking attached to the characters in Super Danganronpa 2. From then on, it's like, yeah, no, if there is an option for me to just read the VN instead of watching the anime, I will. Now, of course, I didn't do that for Higurashi, but for the Higurashi videos, I was using those as basically podcasts. Like, if I'm sitting down specifically to consume media, I would prefer it to be the VN. And to be fair, I do also want to read Higurashi because, sounds really good. I'd love to see the actual, like, story, I guess, instead of just snippets of it. But yeah, and then it's like, I know, like, very little about Umineko, aside from the fact that there are witches. They're in, like, a big mansion out in the middle of nowhere, and I think it's a murder mystery? My point was just that VN adaptations can be hit or miss. Yeah, that's fair. I think it's because, like, VNs, it's kind of like translating a novel into a movie. It's like there's gonna be some stuff that gets lost, and you're not gonna get, like, the full experience, basically. A lot of the time. Now, there are some adaptations that do just straight up kick ass and are awesome, and can work as, like, can be interchangeable with the visual novel or with the original book or whatever. Want to read everything from before Steins Gate: Chaos Child, Chaos Head Noah, and Robotics Notes. Yes, I've considered also doing those on stream, but I think, I mean, I've mentioned it before whenever I came off of hiatus. I don't want to start another 60 plus hour, or like 20 plus hour visual novel when I'm only streaming for like 3-4 hours a week. I mean, 20 hours might be fine now that I think about it. That's 10 streams, but it's just like when I am doing shorter streams, not for the best. And that's also why it's like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna fucking stream Umineko, specifically because I hear that thing is fucking long. We would be here for 2 years. Like, even if I was able to, like, consistently stream 2 days a week, only that fucking visual novel, it would still take years. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that bit whenever I have, like, a bunch of shorter games that I want to play. But yeah. But all those feelings started going around in her mind. There was no way she could focus on work. It was time to chat with Dr. Leskinen for a little and then go to sleep. She headed over to the lab. Sounds good.
Yeah, Maho.
Dr. Leskinen seemed surprised at her sudden visit, but he stood up from his chair and welcomed her.
こんな夜中に。子供はもう寝る時間だよ。
その言葉そっくりそのままお返しします。
違いない。
Dr. Leskinen laughed innocently like a child at her cutting remark.
私の部屋から明かりが見えたものですから。これどうぞ。
The cup on Dr. Leskinen's desk was empty. She poured him some coffee from the thermos. It wasn't the sticky sweet cafe au lait she liked. She'd made it straight black to match the professor's tastes. The room was filled with steam and a pleasant smell.
これは驚いた。魔法がカフェをご馳走してくれるとは。
私だってこのくらいの気は利きますよ。
でも君はこういうのが嫌いだっただろう。あれは確か君がこの研究所に来た最初の日だったかな。メリーがみんなにモーニングカフェを配って回っていたら、君はそれを断ってこう言ったじゃないか。あなたはカフェを入れるためにここに勤務しているのですか。その時間があったら早く仕事を始めてはどうですとね。いやいや、すごい子が来たものだと驚かされたよ。
そんな古い話今さら持ち出さなくてもいいじゃないですか。
Maho's cheeks had swelled in embarrassment.
あの頃は天才少女とか言われてちょっといい気になってたというか、何もわからない子供だったんです。ちゃんと反省はしています。
Mary was another scientist at the lab. After Maho had apologized, they'd gone on to be friends.
本当に教授は意地悪ですね。もう二度とコーヒーなんて持ってきませんから、そのつもりで。
Just as she was thinking of taking the coffee she'd poured back,
そうですよ、教授。あんまり先輩をいじめないであげてください。
she heard a voice from Dr. Leskinen's computer.
あら、クリス。
はい、私です。
ちょうど彼女のプログラムの検証中だったんだ。
She moved around to where she could see the monitor, and sure enough, the Kurisu CG model was displayed on it.
こんばんは、先輩。
Live thick accent reaction. Hi, 100th Assassin, welcome to the stream!
こんな時間までご苦労様。
Maho chuckled to herself. Kurisu was just a program running on a computer, but she still couldn't stop herself from saying things like that. After all the time they'd spent together, Kurisu was no different than a human to her.
別に私は魔法をいじめてるわけじゃないよ。
Steins Gate predicting VTubers once again.
メアレイとの件だって私は魔法を好ましく思ったものさ。極めて合理的でクールで、しかも面白い子だとね。
Very entertaining. Also, Steins Gate really did just, like, come up with Neurosama over a decade before Neurosama was a thing.
だから私の助手になってもらったわけだし。
Neurosama is her name, right? The AI VTuber? I don't watch her myself. Mostly because it's like, I can barely, like, sit down and watch actual humans stream. Interesting concept, though.
もちろん今の優しい君も嫌いじゃないけどね。
Dr. Leskinen gave her a wink as he reached for his coffee cup.
ありがとう。いただくよ。
As he drank his coffee, he grabbed the corners of his eyelids and gave them a little massage. He was acting cheerful, but evidently he was really tired. Except this was made to traumatize one man, whereas Neurosama was made to traumatize one man. Like I said, I don't watch Neurosama. I don't know what fucking man she's traumatizing.
賞って何をしていたんです？
ああ、今まとめている論文のあれだよ。
アマデウスが嘘をつくメカニズムですか？
Been a minute since I've watched Nero. Fair enough, fair enough.
その部分のプログラムが解析できると、人間が嘘をつく仕組みももっと詳しくわかるんだがね。
女性の嘘は時に重大な秘密を含んでいます。それを暴こうというのは感心しません。
Kurisu's expression was deadly serious.
何も君の嘘を暴こうって言うんじゃない。嘘をつく時の思考の過程を知りたいだけだよ。
まあいいです。何か暴露する羽目になったら、まず真帆先輩が隠してる甘い秘密を喋ることにしますから。
ちょっとおかしなことを言わないでちょうだい。っていうか、甘い秘密って何？
なんでしょうね。
She played dumb. Sometimes Kurisu liked to joke around. It was infuriating and at the same time, kind of cute.
例えばゲームセンターで彼に取ってもらったぬいぐるみの件、私が気づいていないとでも？
Oh! The first thing she thought of when she heard the word arcade was what happened back in Akihabara, Japan. She tried so many times to get the stuffed animal and failed each time. Rintaro had won it easily and given it to her.
あれが何？
ずっと先輩のベッドに置いてあるんですよね。
何をバカなことを言っているの？あれはクリスのお母さんへのお土産よ。
じゃあなんで先輩の部屋に？
だってお母さんは新しい家をまだ探してるって言うし、それまでは仮のアパートメント住まいだし、引っ越しの時の荷物になったらあれかなと思って。
You know, fair enough, fair enough. I am really fucking dreading the moment that I have to move out of my apartment because there is so much shit in here. I don't even want to think about packing it all up. Packing all of the stuff and then moving the first time was already rough, and I had like maybe 4 boxes of stuff. Now it's easily 8. Oh no. Oh no, I'm thinking about it now. No! Material possessions are a burden. Yeah, it sucks that they are because I like having them.
どうですか？
ほんとよ。だいたいあのぬいぐるみは私にとってもクリスの大事な思い出なんですもの。抱いて寝るのがそんなにおかしい
？Going to home in an empty house in the future.
あれ
Gotcha, Maho!
しかも抱いて寝てるなんてとってもキュート。そのあたりもっと詳しく教えてください。
That stupid computer program had tricked her. By the time she realized, it was already too late. Both Kurisu and Dr. Leskinen, who'd been listening the whole time, were smiling at her. Splurging by an empty manor, that way you can wander the halls wailing in grief at night. Honestly, like, if I could own any house in the world, like, let's say, you know, tomorrow I win, like, $100 million or something fucking insane, and I could choose any house in the world to move into, it'd just be, like, an old, like, not renovated as in, like, redone, but renovated as in, like, kept up with, and, like, has the modern amenities, Victorian manor. Like, that would be fucking awesome, especially if it has a spire in it. Spires in houses are so fucking cool. Why did we stop putting them in buildings? Like, you just have a tower in your home. That's cool. Same with secret passageways. I get it, most houses aren't big enough for that. But can you just add, like, one secret room? Just one hidden room, please, please, please. Architects tire of the spire? Yeah, they're cowards! Bring it back! This is gonna be the new architectural trend of the 2030s. Spires. Spiral staircases are fire? Yes. My one caveat is that I have fallen down enough normal staircases in my life. I don't have enough experience with spiral staircases to be at all comfortable going down them. I'm barely comfortable going down a normal staircase because the amount of times that I will miss a step and then I roll over on my fucking ankle and it hurts. Be glad you never fell down an up escalator. Oh God, oh God. See, escalators also kind of scare the shit out of me because I look at like the ends of each step and it's fucking metal. And I'm like, oh, if I fall here, I will die. I took a trip to Ottawa a while back. That was a few months ago, I think. And there's a mall there where you can access it from the fucking train that they have, the O train. There's an escalator that goes up into the mall, and it's like 3 stories tall. Absolutely, just like I'm already scared of heights, and I'm already scared of falling down an escalator. Falling down 3 stories worth of escalator, I'm just like, I was just like holding the fucking guardrail like, if I fall, I die. If I fall, I die. If I fall, I die. Just, Don't like heights. Don't like heights, don't like escalators, don't want to fall down the stairs. These are 3 facts that you must know about me. Vesta, what are you doing? Okay, good. I have a little like rubber spider that I have just sticky tacked to my light switch. I have this in multiple rooms in my apartment. It's specifically so that if someone is like in my apartment and I don't want them to be, they can get scared by spiders. And here I've learned to practically fall downstairs when descending. It's like, I can still do that, but like I said, I've fallen down enough stairs by being careless that it's like, nah, I'm too klutzy for this, I can't do that. But yeah, so one of the rubber spiders that's like attached to one of my light switches, Vesta really likes to take it down and then start chewing on it. So anytime that I see her messing with something like near the door to my bedroom, I'm like, Vesta, are you eating plastic? Are you eating plastic again? All right, anyways, I keep going off on tangents. At this point, this stream is gonna be as long as the others, even if the bad end is in like 10 minutes. She glared at them, her cheeks flushed. It's bad enough that people are 90% microplastics, now the cats are 70% macroplastics. Yeah, exactly. You can't be eating plastic, Vesta. I know it has a nice mouthfeel, but you can't be doing that. Okay?
これはどうやらクリスの勝ちのようだね。
勝ち負けとか関係ありません。もう私は寝ます。おやすみなさい。
Simply give them some safe and harmless ivory. Delicious ivory. Buddy, do you think I have the money to afford ivory? I'm making, like, barely more than minimum wage at the fucking moment. She turned to leave Dr. Leskinen's office, fuming. But before she could leave, Kurisu got in one final parting shot. It's not fun. It's like, I can live off of it. Like, I wouldn't have taken this job if I couldn't live off of it. And my salary will go up once I'm done my 3 months probationary period. Not by much, but a little bit more. But yeah, it's like, I don't make enough money to buy ivory. I don't even know if Vesta would like it. I don't know if it has the same mouthfeel.
先輩、もう1週間も
Oh, so you're keeping in touch, huh? Because didn't it say that she's been back in America for like a few months? Okay, Vesta, you need to move your bum. There we go.
忙しいからといって連絡をおろそかにしていると後で後悔しちゃいますからね。
Oh? Okay. A little ominous.
あのね、どうしてもあなたは私と岡部さんをくっつけたいの？
Maho stormed over to the monitor, but Kurisu seemed unconcerned.
たまには直接会ってみたいなって思ったりしませんか？
思いません。
そうか、残念だな。
For some reason, Dr. Leskinen shook his head sadly.
近々また共同研究で日本に呼ばれているんだ。その時、リンタロウに連絡を取ってみよう
Oh, nope, I did not mean to left click.
と思っているん
Or
だ。
right click. Although that is interesting that right clicking brings up the menu. I actually did not remember that.
魔法も一緒に連れて行こうかどうか悩んでいたんだが、これはやめた方が良さそうだね。
She'd heard nothing about this. Most of the time, whenever the professor had a project coming up, she'd hear about it through the school's network ahead of time.
日本へまた行くんですか？
うん。
She had to stop herself from immediately saying that she wanted to go too. If she did, Dr. Leskinen and Kurisu would make fun of her again. She didn't want to miss this chance. There was still a lot she needed to do in Japan. More than anything, she wanted to talk to Rintaro in person, about the time machine, and about Kurisu. It definitely was not because she just liked talking to him. Definitely not!
ぜひ私も連れて行ってください。
In the end, she gave in.
おお、ついに素直になったんだね。
では
God.
告白プランを考えましょう。
あなたたちね。
Maho was starting to get tired of dealing with them.
ま、冗談はさておき。君を連れて行けるかどうかは微妙なところなんだ。
というと？
I know the exact face Maho was making with that sentence. Yeah.
君は日本でいろいろな事件に巻き込まれたろう。脳科学研究所としてはそのことをかなり気にしていてね。
そんな。
クリスの件もあったし、優秀な人材をこれ以上危険な目に合わせるわけにいけないというのが理事たちの考えなんだよ。
Makes
私なら
sense.
大丈夫です。現にこうして無事でいるじゃないですか。
ほう。つまり魔法はそこまでして日本にいるリンタロウに会いたいと。
いい加減セクハラになりますよ。
おお、ソリーは勘弁してくれ。
でも本気で交際を検討してみては。将来的には岡部もこっちに来る可能性があるんでしょ。だったら今のうちに唾をつけておくべきですって。
おせっかいな親戚のおばさんみたいなことを言うのはやめなさい。
Yeah, this is very much like going to see your extended family and they're like, so when are you getting a boyfriend?
魔法の考えは理解したよ。私からも理事に話をしてみよう。ただし、だからといって日本に行けるという保証はできないからね。
はい、ありがとうございます。
私は結構本気なんですけどね。
まだ言っているの？まったく。
It really felt like she was talking to Kurisu. The feeling was much stronger than when they'd first started on Amadeus. And it reminded her of something she'd almost done many times but stopped.
このクリスにタイムマシンのことを相談してみたらどうだろう。
Oh, Oh, is that why this is the bad ending? Because we actually managed to get the information from Kurisu's Amadeus form itself, and that's what leads to everything going to shit? She didn't know if Kurisu had completed the time machine theory before her death. But if she had, some clues to it might be hidden in Kurisu's memories. Of course, she couldn't ask her in front of Dr. Leskinen, and she couldn't let others hear that she was making a time machine. If the rest of the lab found out, they'd make fun of her for sure. It wasn't even her field of research to begin with.
それじゃあ教授、そろそろ部屋に戻って寝ます。
Maho took her thermos and was about to leave the lab.
あ、ちょっと待った。最近、魔法の記憶データを全く更新していないだろう。
Oh.
アムデウスの魔法のことだよ。
ああ、
日本に行く前に採取したデータが最後じゃないか？
それはですね。
Maho didn't know what to say. He was right.
その、日本ではいろいろと怖い体験をしましたし、アマデウスに悪い記憶を残すこともないかなと。
気持ちはわかるが、このままだと比較実験ができない。
A comparison trial involved loading memories from both before and after a given experience into Amadeus, and seeing how it changed. These trials allowed them to see what effects experiences and knowledge had on the brain, but after Kurisu's passing, they became solely Maho's responsibility.
今の君とアムデウスの魔法とでは、あまりにも記憶が食い違いすぎていて、別人と言ってもいいほどになってしまっている。
はい、そうですね。
このままだと、君をこのプロジェクトから外して、他の誰かに頼まなくてはならないかもしれないよ。
それは。
Her expression darkened.
クリスばかり相手にしていないで、たまには自分も構ってあげなさい。きっと寂しがっている。明日必ず記憶の更新をしておくように。いいね？
わかりました。
Maho nodded her head and left the room. So now there are going to be 2 Amadeuses that have information on time travel in them. Great! The reason she'd given to Dr. Leskinen for not updating Maho's memories was a real concern. But there was also another one. Rintaro's words.
なあ、アマデウスの研究には米軍が関与していたりは。
Yeah, that is a concern, huh? She had no proof, but she couldn't get his words out of her mind. Was some great power involved in the Amadeus research? Something so powerful it was outside even Dr. Leskinen's control? If she updated her memory data, Maho would learn about Kurisu's laptop and hard disk. She trusted Amadeus, but that would mean whoever was secretly trying to use the project for their own ends would find out. It seemed silly, almost delusional to be worried about something like that. But she couldn't get it out of her mind ever since she'd come back to America.
でもやっぱり考えすぎよね。
She whispered to herself.
誰かそこにいるの？
She heard a woman's voice from down the dark hallway. Maho stopped dead in her tracks. The hallway lights flipped on and she saw a group of men and women coming down the corridor that connected her building to the next one. The next building over was the psychophysiology lab. Maho's brain science lab mostly investigated the workings of the brain itself. The psychophysiology lab, on the other hand, was more of a medical department. They looked at how the workings of the brain affected mental states and mental illnesses.
すみません、冷や城真帆です。レスキネン教授の研究室の。
The woman at the head of the group was someone she knew. Oh, it's you! It was Dr. Reyes, the scientist at the psychophysiology lab.
あら、真帆だったの。
レイエス教授、こんな時間にお仕事ですか？
あなたも
ええ、まあ。
お互いに仕事中毒だわね。
Judy Reyes' eyes narrowed beneath her glasses as she laughed.
アレクシスはまだ自分のオフィスよね。
はい、アマデウスの研究を。
ほんとご執心ね。自分の娘と勘違いしてるんじゃないかしら。
こんな時間にレスキネン教授にお会いになるんですか？もし緊急でのミーティングなら私も。
その必要はないわ。私の研究に少し問題があってね。至急彼の知恵を借りたいのよ。あなたがいても特に頼めることはないでしょうし。あ、気を悪くしないでね。でもありがとう。
Dr. Reyes kept smiling as she walked past Maho towards the lab. The other scientists followed her.
研究に問題って一体何だろう？
She wants it now! She took a closer look and saw that she didn't recognize any of the people in the group. Or she didn't recognize one of the people in the group. It was hard to say why exactly she noticed him. He just didn't look like a scientist. When you spend enough time doing research, you start to get a feel for people who are in the same line of work. But he had a totally different air about him, and what was worse, he was behaving extremely rudely towards Dr. Reyes. If he was one of her staff, he wouldn't act like that. And while everyone else was wearing white lab coats, he was wearing a freshly pressed suit. I mean, that would explain why you noticed him, to be honest. It just didn't feel right. She was about to head back to her room when... It bothered her enough that she turned right back around and silently crept back to Dr. Leskinen's lab. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The door was slightly ajar. She could hear voices inside. She knew it was wrong, but she decided to push her face up against the door to listen.
いつまで泳がせておくつもり？
貴重な情報源だ。下手に動いて破棄でもされたらもったいないだろう。
Oh, fuck. Leskinen is in on it!
いずれにせよ、今月中に日本に立つ。そこで回収するつもりさ。
Fuck.
なぜ半年近くも様子を見たのか、納得のいく説明ができるのかしら。
彼らは我々が知っていること以上の何かを隠しているような気がしてね。そこでアマデウスを使って聞き出そうとしたんだが、かなり警戒心が強い慎重な青年だよ、リンターロ・岡部は。
真帆にお得意の施術でもしてあげたら？
彼女は何も知らないと思うがね。
Fuck. Maho started to panic when she heard her name. Don't make any noise! And then, she realized she'd made a big mistake. She was so focused on listening to the conversation that she'd pressed her shoulder into the door. The door to the lab wasn't very well built. There was a loud creak and everyone in the lab turned around.
誰？
She knew she should probably run, but her body refused to move. She couldn't understand what she was hearing, and even after they'd found her, she still couldn't move. She couldn't believe it. She didn't want to believe it. This was worse than being in a thriller, she thought. The other scientists who were with Dr. Reyes grabbed her arms tightly and dragged her into the room.
教授、今の話は一体。
Dr. Leskinen looked a little sad as he walked over to her. His huge body leaned forward and peered into her face.
やれやれ、聞いてしまったんだね。
Did he just go yada yada?
まあ、 ちょうどいい。魔法、さっきの日本行きの話だけどね、やはり君にも一緒に来てもらおう。
She didn't know what he meant. Weren't the directors opposed to it? Was it something Dr. Leskinen could decide on his own? What was good timing? Confused, she glanced over at the computer screen, but Kurisu was no longer there. The one thing she knew was... Okabe's words weren't the rambling of a conspiracy theorist after all. All right. It was almost July. The rainy season hadn't been that bad this year, and what little remained of it had already disappeared. Temperature-wise, summer had come a long time ago. In other words, it had almost been a year since it happened. And then, one Saturday afternoon... If I stayed home, not only would it be hot, but Dad would be on my case about helping with the family business. To get away, I'd come to the area around Ikebukuro Station. A year ago, I could have gone to the lab, but with Suzuha living there now, I'd mostly stopped going. But that meant that it was hard to find a place to study on my days off. It was too much trouble to go to the university, and the classrooms probably weren't open on weekends anyways. After a lot of research, I'd settled on spending my free days visiting this cafe near my parents' home and spending a few hours there. In fact, a lot of the other patrons did the same thing I did, buying a single cup of coffee and sitting there for hours on end. It'd be nice if I could find a coffee shop like that near me. I mean, I probably wouldn't go to it because I'm a fucking recluse, but... Some brought books, some brought computers. I chuckled to myself as I realized I'd joined the ranks of the other normies. Oh. Got a ride message. Drinking coffee. Oh, the usual cafe, right? I just went to your place and you weren't home. You did? Did my dad make a nuisance of himself again? It's okay, he gave me some barley tea. I have to go shopping, will you come with me? Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'll leave now. Wait for me. So they went to my house? My family's business was called Okabe Green Grocer. It was a beat-up old store located in a rundown shopping street. The place was almost 40 years old. I really wanted them to rebuild it. My mind had wandered. Mayuri was going to be here in less than 15 minutes, so maybe it was time to call it a day. I'd worked pretty hard during the morning, so it wasn't too bad. I was a little surprised at how hard I'd been working lately. I could feel how having a goal gave me energy. I needed to get to Victor Condrea University as soon as I could. I think that's a really fucking bad idea, to be honest. Since I was still testing Amadeus, I'd kept in touch with Maho via email and online chat. She must have been working hard because she was always sleepy. Oh? Call from Amadeus. Hi?
何よ。どうして声を潜めてる？
し今店の中なんだ。頼むから。俺の都合に関係なく連絡してくるのはやめてくれ。
あんたがどこで何してるかなんてさすがに把握してないわよ。それとも私に24時間監視してほしいの？あんたが寝てる姿とかお風呂入ってる姿とか全部覗き見してほしいと？なかなかの変態ね。
You are the most incredible pervert.
知った口を聞いてすみませんでした。
私が連絡したってあんたが出たくなければ出なくていいの。それぐらいで怒ったりしない。
そうだな。
今は迷惑みたいだからお望み通り切るわ。確かにスマホで 3D モデルの女と真面目な顔して会話してる大学生男子ってかなり気持ち悪いし。
お前な。
冗談よ。いつも相手をしてくれて、これでも一応感謝はしてるんだからな。
そういう話はいいから、とにかく切るぞ。
Karisu always talked so much. The real one used to talk a lot too. Talking to her in a place like this always drew a lot of attention and made me feel awkward. Looking at a screen and talking was embarrassing, was all. Very funny to read that in the year of our Lord 2025. So I'd once proposed that I talk to her like I was on a normal phone. And this is what she said. Why do I have to stare at a close-up of the side of your head? She really was a selfish little program. Mayuri and I met up and headed for Tokyo Hands. When I stepped inside the air-conditioned store, I felt refreshed. Ah, so it's basically like Japanese Staples then. Interesting. If it was this hot in June, I shuddered to think what it was going to be like in July or August. Ah! She's so cute! I've never seen her in her school wait, that's not really a school uniform though, is it? Because she'd be in high school. That's like a middle school uniform, isn't it? Maybe they just did it for the rule of cute.
商品宣伝用のポップを作るんだ。だからそれ用のカードとか蛍光ペンとか。
今年はコミマで同人誌でも出す気か？
A book?
岡部製菓店で使うんだよ。
Huh? Okay.
は？なんだって？
My family business?
そう、オカリンの家に行った時にね、おじさんとそんな話になって、じゃあマユシーが作りますって立候補したの。
おいおい。
My dad could be such a jerk.
お前がそんなことする必要ないんだぞ。
でもマユシーがやりたいからやっているのです。
本当にいいのか？
オカリンやおじさんおばさんにはいつもお世話になってるから。
じゃあ代わりに今度何かプレゼントするよ。
本当？嬉しいな。
I took a quick look around and saw that they were selling a lot of things you could use for advertising. I decided to mostly leave the purchasing decisions up to Mayuri. She spent quite a while deciding what to buy. But, well, maybe because of all the time she spent at May Queen Yan Squared, her taste ran in the direction of cute and anime. Part of me thought it was dangerous to leave it up to her. But still, they'd asked her, not me. Wasn't any of my business, not my circus, not my monkeys. I should just leave it to her. And so I decided to wander around the store while Mayuri finished her shopping. But... again? Hi? Hello?
どうかしたか？
もしかして買い物中？
ああ、マユリとな。
へえ、デート？
スイーツかっこ笑い。
その呼び方はやめろと言ったろうが。
だったらお前も恋愛脳の癖を直すんだな。
はいはい、わかったわよ。でも、まゆりさんって可愛いわよね。
She is very cute. She is kind of adorable.
あんな可愛い年下の幼馴染がいるなんて、あんた恵まれてるわよ。
そうだな。
これじゃ真帆先輩の勝ち目は絶望的じゃない。可愛げもないし、年齢でも勝てないし、身長も負けてるし、あとバスト的なものも惨敗だし。
それをヒヤジョーさんの前で言ったらプログラム丸ごと消去されるぞ。
というか私未だにまゆりさんを紹介してもらってない。あんた友達は結構いるのに私のことは誰にも教えようとしないわよね。
I mean, that's a little bit of a hard conversation to have. Like, here's my friend. She's an AI. It's like... Even amongst nerds, I feel like in 2012, that would be a weird conversation to have.
守秘義務的なものがあるんだ。あまり人に教えないようにって言われてる。
本当にそれだけなの？実は私と話してるのを人に見られたくないんじゃない？
そんなことはないさ。どうしても紹介してほしいならヒヤジョーさんに許可をもらうぞ。手始めに俺が一番頼りにしている男であるダルを紹介しよう。
Are you sure this is a good idea? Or are you doing this as a way to convince her not to meet the rest of your friends? Because knowing Daru, I feel like that will be, that'll be an interesting conversation.
あいつならお前には相当食いつくはずだ。
I'm sure he would, buddy!
24時間延々と色目線で見つめられてハーハーされ続けるんですね。わかります。
Okay, you are aware. I mean, she did call him an incredible pervert last time, so...
変態が怖い。
Kurisu went pale and started to shake! Average reaction to dealing with Daru. I told Kurisu all kinds of things about what kind of person Daru was. She could easily imagine what would happen if she ever fell into his clutches.
やっぱり紹介はしてくれなくていいわ。
Mission success!
あんたが相手をしてくれるだけで十分と思わなくちゃ。おかえりー。
Mayuri walked over carrying a shopping basket.
あれ？今誰と話してたの？
I looked down at my phone. Kurisu had disappeared and my smartphone was back at its home screen. Evidently, Kurisu had hung up.
大学の先輩からだった。
そっか。
I knew I didn't have to hide Kurisu, but at the same time, Mayuri was the one person I didn't want finding out. She knew that I'd failed to save Kurisu Makise last summer.
それで買うものは決まったか？
こんな感じでどうかな。
The basket was filled with heart and star-shaped cardstock. This didn't really go with our store's look. But I decided when I started, I was going to let Mayuri make the decisions. Dad might complain later, but I didn't care. He was the one who asked Mayuri for help, not me. And so I went over to the register. Since it was a Saturday, the checkout area was overflowing with shopping carts. That's why I avoid the grocery store on the weekends. Like, I've tried doing my grocery shopping on the weekend because it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about work. Like, I have as much time as I need, this and that. And it's like, the lines are always so goddamn long. It's like, it literally is just quicker and easier to just go after work. Take the bus, go. Actually, I don't even have to take the bus. It's within walking distance. It depends, though. Like, when it's the winter, you don't want to walk that much. Especially not with the fucking February we had. So much snow. So much snow. Since it was going to take a while, I sent Mayuri to browse the toy section on another floor. Like a little kid. I knew they'd have some stuff from one of her favorite shows, Rainet Kakaru. Oh, right! We got like episode scripts or whatever for this last time. Mayuri looked apologetic, but did what I told her to. In the end, I waited a whole 15 minutes at the register. As an apology, I decided to get the present I'd promised her. She seemed really happy as she stared at the keychain. Oh! It was Upa, the mascot character from the Rhino. Wait. Hold up. That's the same keychain that Kagari had in one of the flashbacks, wasn't it? I mean, that was ages ago, but I swear to fucking God, she had this fucking keychain. Huh. All right. Cool. Great. Oh, this really is the Doom timeline. All right. I told her when she went over to the toy section that she could pick out anything she wanted, and this is what she chose.
ウーパーならもう大量に持ってるのにずいぶん嬉しそうだな。しかもそれって普通の緑色のウーパーだろ？レアなやつじゃないよな。レアなのは確かメタルウーパーだっけか。
The most popular and rarest of the Upas was the shiny silver metal Upa. For example, whenever there was a lottery for rare Rhinet Kakadu stuff at convenience stores, the top prize was always a metal Upa. Mayuri had told me once that they sold for tens of thousands of yen at auction. For some reason, Mayuri was wagging her finger at me.
違うんだな。これはね、緑のウーパさんだけど、普通のとは違うの。この前やってた映画に登場した緑の妖精さんウーパなんだよ。
I see, so it's like Pokemon, where they have, like, promotional Pokemon for the movies. Come to think of it, there had been a Rhinet's Kakadu movie come out. Come to think of it, there had been a Rhinet's Kakadu movie out in spring. Had Mayuri sat in a theater full of little kids to watch it?
緑の妖精さん？
映画のネタバレしてもいいかな？
いいぞ、どうせ見ないし。
今回の映画はね、バーチャル世界で悪のスーパーハッカーさんたちとバトルをするんだ。そのバーチャル世界が妖精さんの住む森なのです。スーパーハッカーさんはすごく強くてね、かけるくんもウーパもピンチになっちゃうんだけど、もうダメだっていう時にね、妖精さんたちが助けに来てくれるの。実はその妖精さんたちはかけるくんがお世話をしてた学校の花壇のお花さんたちだったんだよ。いつも優しくしてくれるかけるくんを助けるためにね、バーチャル世界でピカピカーって光ってウーパと合体するんだ。それがこの緑の妖精さんウーパー。すっごくかわいいし、すっごく強いんだよ。まゆし、感動したな。そういう話に弱いんだ。監督さん天才だよ。
That's adorable. That sounds like the plot of a movie. I do like the thing where it's like, oh yeah, these are like the flowers that he took care of coming to save him. It's like, that is such a kid's movie thing. I could see that happening in like a real ass movie. That may even be a reference, I don't know. No.
なるほどな。
Dog wanted to play? Hell yeah! No worries. Your dog is more important than this stream, I assure you. It was rare for Mayuri to get this excited about something. I took a closer look and saw that the design was a little different from the standard Upa. I didn't know a lot about Upas, so I couldn't say exactly what was different. Not a real Upa expert.
このキーホルダーね、結構あちこち探してたんだ。すっごく人気があってね、どこも売り切れだったんだよ。まさかハンズに残ってるなんて思わなかったな。
ラッキーだったな。
しかもこれが最後の1個だったんだよ。今日は来てよかった。オカリンとおじさんには感謝しなくちゃ。
Mayuri took the tag off the keychain, got her house key out of her bag, and carefully attached it.
ねえオカリマユシーねこれずっと大切にするね
おお、そうしてくれ。くれぐれも買って5分でなくしたりしないようにな。
It had happened before, after all. Oh, right. Like the metal Upa I'd won for her at the radio building. Mayuri had lost it no more than 5 minutes after I gave it to her. I'd wondered if she had ever found it. I didn't really want to remember that time in my life, so my memory of what happened to the metal Upa was vague. At this point, my memory of what happened to the metal Upa is also vague, because I think I played through that game in like 2022.
絶対になくさないのです
The two of us started to head back.
オカリンのお店のポップ張り切って作るね
Yeah, it has been a couple minutes. I'd been thinking the job was done once we bought the materials. The real work actually began now.
俺も手伝おうか。
大丈夫マユシーのセンスを信じてほしいな
ハートマークのポップを買おうとしてた時点でセンスを疑うぞ。
大丈夫だよ
Trust the
ポ
process.
ップを作ってくれるだけでもありがたいから文句は言わないけどな。
お母さんにメールしなきゃ晩ご飯までには帰りますって
なんならうちで食べてってもいいぞ。どうせ親父やおふくろが引き止めるだろうし。
どうしようかなオカリンは今日はこの後ずっと家にいるの合コンとか行かない
Singles parties. You have met Okabe, right?
最近は全然行ってないよ。
Lately, you've been going to them? Last fall, when I'd been trying to become a normal college kid, I'd forced myself to go to as many as possible. Oh, okay, fair enough. But lately, I'd been so busy with my studies that I hadn't had a chance.
そっかじゃ
The more you know.
ごちそうになっていこうかな
Mayuri took out her phone and started to type something when her expression suddenly darkened. She stopped moving.
どうした？
Uh-oh.
ついさっきね楓さんからメールが来てて気づ
Kaede.
かなかったよどうしようオカリ
Huh? What's wrong? Mayuri seemed like she was on the verge of
何
tears.
かあったのか？
ねえオカリ前に言ってたよね吹雪ちゃんは病気なんかじゃないって
Uh-oh. Did Fubuki fucking die?
吹雪ちゃん？中瀬さんのことか？来島さんの方じゃなくて？
あれって本当に病気じゃないんだよね
おう、違うはずだ。
でも
Mayuri showed me her phone. Fubuki's back in the hospital. I'm on my way. Here's the location.
また入院しただって？
I couldn't believe what I was seeing on the screen. Fubuki was at a different location than before. This time it was the AH Tokyo General Hospital High-Tech Medical Center in Yoyogi. It was supposedly one of Japan's most advanced hospitals. According to what I had read on the internet, patients with the new encephalitis that everyone was talking about were being gathered here for special treatment. But I'd also read lots of really bad urban legends about the place, and I was a bit worried about what kind of horror show I'd find there. But of course, when we arrived, it was nothing like that. It was very clean and decorated like a luxury hotel.
マユリちゃんオカリンさんこっちです
Oh, they have cute alt outfits! I really like Kaide's. Kaide's outfit is nice. I like the suspender skirt thing. I think that's what they're going for here. It's like a high-waisted suspender skirt. It's hard for me to see around the text box. Wait, no. Kaede and Yuki waved to us as we entered the lobby. Yuki had gotten a message from Kaede as well, and had evidently come right over.
ふぶきちゃんは大丈夫だよ。
Yuki gave Mayuri a soft hug and a smile. Kaede bowed her head apologetically.
驚かせてごめんね。私も焦っちゃって。もっとちゃんと確認してからメールすればよかった。
というと中瀬さんの容体は？
今病室でふぶきちゃんのお母さんに会えたんですけど、例の病気が悪化したとかじゃないそうです。
じゃあまた検査入院とか？
はい、そう言ってました。だから全然心配ないって。なんだ、はあ、よかった。
Mayuri looked extremely relieved as Yuki continued to hug her. If I remembered right, the last time they examined her, they said it was possible she had the disease, but as long as it didn't get worse, it wouldn't affect her daily life. They just told her to come back for regular checkups. The new encephalitis had arrived in Japan over 6 months ago, but the number of patients was still increasing. Fortunately, there hadn't been a single casualty yet. Why does the plant? It does look like a part of Mayuri's hair. Yeah, it's not an illness. I was certain that what they were calling encephalitis was actually something similar to reading Steiner. One time when I went to visit Fubuki in the hospital, I had secretly investigated the other patients. I wasn't able to get any proof, but I found out most of the patients in her wing had, to varying degrees, memories of the same world line. Many people had memories of Japan at war.
ふぶきちゃんに会えるかな。それがね、今 MRI で脳の検査をしている最中なんですって。だから病室にいないの。そうなんだ。でももう少しで終わるみたいよ。ここで待っていてってふぶきちゃんのお母さんが。
Kaede motioned to Mayuri, indicating she should sit down at a nearby sofa.
検査が終わったら声をかけてくれるみたい。
I let the girls sit down on the sofa and stood next to them while I surveyed the lobby. So I will say, at this point, Kaede is kind of the only one of Mayuri's friends that doesn't play, like, some role to the overall plot. Like, Yuki is obviously Suzuha's mom in the future. And then Fubuki has this whole, like, reading Steiner arc going on where it's like, okay, she's, like, they're revealing that reading Steiner is something that other people can do through Fubuki. So why is Kaede here? I'm not saying that as in, like, oh, she sucks as a character, why the fuck did they put her in? I'm just saying that as, like, hey, every other character with a sprite so far has had something to do with the main plot. What the fuck is up with Kaede? I let the girls sit down on the- oh fuck. I let the girls sit down on the sofa and stood next to them while I surveyed the lobby. Exactly.
すごい病院ですよね。
Like, I can't think of, like, one big thing that Kaede has that ties her to the plot. She's always just kind of there. What if she was, like, the biker lady? I mean, I'm pretty sure they confirmed that was Dr. Reyes before. I don't remember. But, like, fucking imagine.
中瀬さんの家って実はすごい金持ちだったりするのか？こんなところに入院なんて。
いえ、そうじゃなくってですね。
吹雪ちゃんのお母さんの話だと、日本とアメリカの政府がお金を出して新しい治療のプロジェクトを始めるみたいなんです。
Huh. Both the Japanese and American governments, you say?
この病院とアメリカの専門病院や研究所が中心になってやるんだそうですよ。
そうなのか。
I wasn't sure how I felt about that. If I was right about what this disease really was, it was hard to imagine a bigger waste of money.
お願いします。患者は全員個室にしてください。それも患者同士が接触しないよう、なるべく離れた部屋で。
Oh?
しかしね、そんな都合よく病床は空いていませんから。
それでもやってくれないとダメです。患者同士が会話をすることで夢の情報を共有してしまうでしょ
いや、それはそうですが。
脳というのはね、他人が見た夢なのにそれに共感を覚えてしまうと、あたかも自分が見た夢のように錯覚してしまう。そういう可能性だってあるのです。
Oh, it's you again. Across the lobby, I saw an old Japanese doctor in a white coat and a big man in a suit who was frantically trying to talk to him. I'd seen the man in the suit before. Actually, it was a man I knew well.
教授、レスキネン教授。
I hurried over.
レスキネン教授。俺です。岡部です。
He must have been wearing his translator because he was communicating with the old doctor in Japanese. Dr. Leskinen's face quickly broke into a smile when he saw me.
Oh, Rintaro!
His voice was so loud that everyone in the lobby, doctors, nurses, staff, and even the patients turned to look at me. But Dr. Leskinen didn't seem to notice them as he ran over. He was like a giant American football player racing for a touchdown. My cries went unheard as Dr. Leskinen tackled me and then pulled me up. Then he switched from football player to pro wrestler and he swung me up and down. I felt like I was a little child. There was nothing I could do to resist him as he flung me around. Goal! A moment later, he noticed the cold stares of the people around us and finally released me. Dr. Leskinen bowed to the people around him in apology.
レスキネン先生、この青年とはどういったお知り合いかな？
The doctor that Professor Leskinen had been talking to was staring at me suspiciously.
その
I wasn't sure what exactly to tell him. It wasn't like he was really my professor.
見たところまだ学生のようだが、どこの大学かな？教授と同じ脳科学専攻だとすると。
いえ、俺は。
彼は9月からビクトゥコンドリア大学の学生ですよ。いずれ私の研究室に来てもらうつもりでいます。
Huh. I'd be excited for Okabe if it weren't for what we just fucking learned.
おほう、ビクトル・コンドリア大学かね。これは驚いた。
I looked over at Dr. Leskinen questioningly, but he just gave me a mischievous smile. This guy. He really was such a kid.
日本人であそこへ行ける学生なんてめったにいない。大したものだ。
どうも。
After the doctor left, I sighed loudly enough for Professor Leskinen to hear me.
今の人は
この病院の院長。
Yeah, the nervous laugh is good.
院長そんな偉い人相手に堂々と嘘をついたんですか？
おや、私は嘘なんてついたかな？確かに9月から我が校の学生とはいたが、何も 今年の9月からとは言ってないよ。
Oh, I see.
それとも何かい？君は結局我が校に来る自信がないのかな？だったら少し残念だが。
He really was like a little kid, completely shameless. But still, it was hard to hate him.
でも驚きました。まさか教授がまた日本に来ているなんて。
It had been 5 months since I'd seen him off at Narita.
魔法も一緒に来ているよ。
そうなんですか？一言も教えてもらってませんが。
I talked to her often via email and video chat, mostly about Amadeus's testing, but she hadn't said a word about coming to Japan. I hadn't heard anything about it from Karisu either.
またあの和光市の部署のオフィスだよ。クリスと一緒にいつでも遊びに来るといい。泥棒に入られるから別の場所にしてくれと訴えたんだがね。
Dr. Leskinen looked up towards the ceiling and shrugged. It did feel like that place had security issues.
ウィンタールはどこか具合でも悪いのかい？治療でここに？
あ、いえ、違います。入院してる友人の見舞いで。
ああ、そうか。それはよか。いや、その友人にとっては良くないか。申し訳ない。
ああ、いえ。それで、教授こそ、日本の病院で何を？
Dr. Leskinen brought his face close to mine and whispered so that the people around us couldn't hear him.
君も知っているだろう。例の新型脳炎の件だよ。アメリカ政府の依頼で精神生理学研究所が治療法を研究していたんだが手詰まりらしくてね。私も調査に加わるよう大学から命じられたというわけさ。
そうなんですか。レスキネン教授が新型脳炎を。
Now there was a word I didn't expect to hear. I explained that my friend was here because they thought she might have the disease.
もしかしてその友人というのは中瀬克美？
Katsumi? Her name is Fubuki.
ああ、クリスマスパーティーで会
Oh,
ってま
is
し
that
たね。
Fubuki must just be her nickname. It's like Daru. I forgot about that part. It has been a bit since I started this game.
実は私が新型脳炎に興味を持ったのもあのパリがきっかけでね。君と克美が揃って倒れただろ？
He was right, actually. In my case, I'd been sent to that other world line.
克美には何日か前に再会したんだけどね。私にも何度か噛みついてきたよ。どうしてまた入院させられるんだ？私は元気なのにってね。
そうでしたか。
もう少し協力的になってくれると嬉しいとリンタロウからも伝えておいてくれないかい？
ああ。
実際のところキャツミだけでなく全ての患者に申し訳ないという気持ちはあるんだ。
I don't know if I can trust you anymore, to be honest.
我々も日本の医師団も研究を進めてはいるんだけどね。どうにも消せない検査結果ばかりで困り果てているのさ。
Dr. Leskinen's usually chipper expression darkened. The man was such a ball of vitality that I hadn't noticed until then, but when his smile disappeared, I could see the wrinkles that had formed on his face from exhaustion. He must have been working hard, like he said.
正直、最初はどの医師もこれほど不可解
Yeah, where is Maho?
思っていなかったらしいんだけどね。どうしたんだ、リンタロウ？
その。
何か気になることでも？
いえ、俺は医学生じゃないのでさっぱりです。
I was just about to tell him about my reading Steiner. Bad idea! Bad idea! Bad idea! Don't fucking do that, please! Please! But in the end, I couldn't. If my uninformed opinion was wrong, it could cost me the encephalitis patients their lives. I couldn't just tell him when I didn't have any proof. And then his face drew close to mine again.
ところで、その克美がなかなか興味深いことを言っていたんだよ。
Huh?
自分たちは病気じゃない。別の世界の出来事を夢で見る能力があるだけだとかなんとか。
I told her not to say anything about it. Could she not help it? This was bad. They might start to doubt her sanity.
中瀬さんはとても想像力がたくましいというか SF とかアニメとか大好きですから他の平行世界を感知できる力なんて多分趣味の影響で口にしただけじゃないかと思います。
Alright, we'll go into parallel worlds. Here we go. Another world which exists parallel to our own in another space-time. It has the same dimensions as our own world, and sometimes the people and objects within it are the exact same, or in the exact same place as our own.
実は俺もそういうことを言っていた時期があるんですよ。
I tried my best to come up with excuses, but Dr. Leskinen still seemed concerned.
だけどね、私も治療プロジェクトに参加して驚いたんだが、確かにこの病の特徴として多くの患者が夢を共有する不可思議な現象が起こっているんだ。集団幻覚に近いのかとも思って今調べているんだけどね。でもなんだろう、こんなことは初めてでね。脳科学的には今のところ解が導けない。正直非科学的という言葉が一番しっくりくるくらいだよ。それこそ平行世界とか前世の記憶とかね。
そうですか。
君も克美からいろいろと話を聞いてくれると助かるよ。医者に言えないことでも友人になら話すだろうしね。
はい、一応心がけておきます。
さて、リンタロウ、それはそれとして確認だ。
I just had like a really both funny and like conspiracy theorist ass fucking thought where it's like, what if when Dr. Leskinen hugged Okabe, he put some kind of bug on Okabe's like jacket or something, or on his shirt? I don't know. I feel like this is back when I first started Steins Gate and I was just kind of throwing out theories willy-nilly. That's probably not what's happening here. Dr. Leskinen was looking over my shoulder.
クリスマスパーティーの時にも感じたんだけれど、君のガールフレンドたちはキュートなお嬢さんばかりだね。
Girlfriends?
え?
They're not all. I turned around and saw that Mayuri, Kaede, and Yuki had all stood up from the sofa and were looking at me. When they saw Dr. Leskinen was looking at them, they waved.
やはりあの中に恋人がいたりするのかい？ユキ、楓、マユリ、ルカ、それともカツミがそうなのかな？
His words were so surprising I couldn't think of anything to say. Maho would often call this middle-aged man a mischievous boy, and that was exactly the look he had on his face.
いや、別に無理に聞かせてくれとは言わないよ。君のプライベートを詮索する気はないからね。
I do like how every now and again I can hear kind of like an English word in what Leskinen is saying. I like that. That's a nice detail. Yep.
ただまあ可愛い教え子にちょっとした土産話をと思っただけさ。
Appropriate reaction. Dr. Leskinen turned to walk away before I could figure out what he meant.
それじゃリンタロウ、私はもうちょっと院長と話をしないといけないから、これで。できればユキたちにも一人一人発揮していきたいところだったが、次回にとっておこう。彼女たちによろしく。
はい。
Mayuri and the others came over to me as I watched him go.
今の人レスキネン先生ですよね。どこかで見たことあると思った。アメリカに帰ったんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
I mean, he did, but now he's back.
おかりん？
There was no way I could tell the girls what Dr. Leskinen and I were just talking about. After Fubuki's exam was over, we went to her room and listened to her complain, and then the visit was over. Just like Dr. Leskinen had said, she looked just fine. She told us she was ready to leave the hospital and jog all the way home. Mayuri and the others were relieved, but I felt worried. Did I need to talk to Dr. Leskinen about reading Steiner after all? But how would I explain it? It might be a better idea to talk to Maho and have her explain it to him. I couldn't come to an answer right away. Alright, we're seeing from Suzuha's perspective now. It was a very hot day in 1998 when Suzuha said goodbye to Kagari Shina. She'd gone to get food and water from a local store, and when she'd come back and open the hatch, Kagari was inside screaming. She looked inside and saw that Kagari was slamming her tiny hands down on the control console.
お前何をしてるんだ。
Kagari shrank back when she saw Suzuha.
違うの。これは
答えろ。
なんて目を覚ましたら鈴葉お姉ちゃんがいなくて、真っ暗で明かりもつかないし、狭くて怖くて苦しくて、だからかがりドアを開けたくて、それであちこちいじってるうちにこんなことに。
Kagari started to cry.
ごめんなさい、鈴葉お姉ちゃん。ごめんなさい。でも本当に怖かったんだ。だから。
そうか。
Suzuha relaxed her guard. Kagari had PTSD from her time as a war orphan, and she hadn't fully recovered yet. Mayuri once told her that she got very frightened in dark and cramped places. It would make sense if waking up in the dark caused a panic attack. And the time machine could only function with Suzuha's biometric authorization. Someone of Kagari's size wouldn't be able to break the console either.
お前は時間移動のショックで気を失ってたんだよ。だから休ませておいたんだけど、悪かった。
Suzuha grabbed one of Kagari's tiny hands to help her up, then led her outside the machine.
暑い。
かがり、約束するんだ。どんなことがあっても操縦席のスイッチに触ったりするな。いいな。じゃあ、
Thanks.
私は仕事にかかるから、お前はその辺で休んでるんだ。飲み物と食べ物は適当に食べていい。
Suzuha handed Kagari the provisions she'd brought, then went inside and poked her head into the cargo space under the control console. She connected the IBM 5100 she'd stored there to a portable terminal she'd brought from the future. By all appearances, it was an early 2000s cell phone, but inside it was a miniaturized quantum computer from the year 2036. Of course, future Daru had made it himself. When she booted up the IBM 5100, rows of numbers started to appear on the screen.
何をするの？
Kagari was looking in from outside the machine.
2000年問題は勉強したか？
施設の学校でちょっとだけ。結局何にも起こらなかったんでしょ？
表向きはね。公表されてないけど、実は当時あれのせいでいくつかの地域や国に深刻な問題が起きたんだ。
Yeah, like that was a thing in our world too, where basically, from what I understand, it's not that nothing happened on Y2K. It's that a lot of computer experts worked incredibly fucking hard to make sure that nothing happened because of Y2K. Like, the only reason why nothing happened is because people knew that, oh shit, this is gonna cause problems, we should fix it ahead of time. Which is kind of a thing where it's like... I mean, I've been kind of finding this lately, but it's like... Yeah, proactive behavior, from what I found, like, typically, it's not talked about enough. Which sucks, because it makes people think that there's, like, no sense in trying. It's the same thing with, like, I just recently learned that, yeah, the ozone layer is healing. That hole in the ozone layer that people were talking about throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, yeah, it's getting better. I think I read a thing, and it's like, yeah, it should be back fully by the mid-2030s. Yeah, exactly. Like, for some, I mean, I say for some fucking reason, but it's like, I feel like news nowadays is so focused on getting as much eyes on it as possible that they just don't really share the good things that are happening. Because they know that that's not gonna get as much attention as all the fucked up stuff and all the controversial stuff and all of the death and, that's a, I'm going off on a whole ass tangent. Negative stuff always catches more attention than positive things. Exactly. And it sucks. Because it makes people think that the world fucking sucks. And it's like, no, good shit is happening. We're just literally only being shown the stuff that sucks the worst. It's... I guess I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I am listening to more news stuff. Because the radio is always on at my workplace now. Before I was able to basically just listen to, like, podcasts and, like, video essays and music and stuff while I worked because I was either working from home or I was working in a very quiet office where, like, I would just be sitting at a computer all day anyways. Like, and we didn't have the radio on. My manager would always just, like, have her own earbuds in or, like, just listen to music in her own office. But now that I'm working at a place with a lot more people and, a lot of people who do genuinely like listening to the radio, they put on the same station every day, and to be honest, I am getting kind of sick of it, because they play the same fucking music every day. And it's like, I listen to the same fucking music all the time. However, I can at least choose when to say, no more. Nope, we're skipping this song from now on. I can't do that with the radio, and it's kind of driving me nuts. But they do have little segments where they talk about current news, and it's always like, oh, well, someone got stabbed in this city, and oh, this is what's happening with world politics, and it's like, God, no wonder people are like, yeah, the world is fucking doomed. All we hear about are how people are horrible to each other, and how, like, how world politics is bad. It's like... How are people supposed to have hope for the future if that's all they're hearing about? But meanwhile, it's like if you look out for like the positive stuff, it's like, yeah, we're close to curing AIDS. That's insane. That's awesome. Why aren't we talking about that? It's like this fucking awful disease that killed like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people by this point. We might be able to fucking cure it now. At least, I think it's AIDS. I think it's AIDS is the one that we're curing. It's either AIDS or HIV. I know HIV is related to AIDS. Are we close to curing AIDS? Oh! Oh, damn! Okay, I don't know how, I don't know how accurate this is. This is just the article that's being brought up by Google. Not the AI overview. I refuse to read that. It's from VIIV Healthcare, and it says, in July 2023, a new gene editing therapy called EBT-101 for HIV received fast-track designation from the FDA. This treatment aims to cure HIV and is being tested in a clinical trial that is expected to finish in March 2025. So, according to this one article, which I'm not going into other sources purely because this tangent has gone on for long enough already and I gotta wrap up stream soon. But, yeah, this illness that has hurt, like I said, hundreds of thousands of people, we're close to curing it. The ozone layer is healing. Y2K didn't happen because a lot of people put a lot of their time and energy into making sure it didn't happen. There's good in this world, you just have to fucking find it. And it's very hard to find it, is the problem. Anyways.
そうなの？
問題だったのはこの IBN5100 というコンピューターなんだよ。これには古いプログラム言語が搭載されてるんだけど、そのプログラムの問題点を技術者たちが修正できなかった。
We need a reverse of the one meme of that chick who was saying the world is dying, the aliens are leaving, etc., for purely positive things. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you go to places like, I think there's a subreddit called r/goodnews. And it's stuff like that. Like, if you go digging for it specifically, you'll find it. It just fucking sucks that you have to go digging for it in the first place. Especially when it's like, the bad things in the world are really fucking bad. It's like, we need some good shit to balance all of that out. Like I said, it's no wonder that people are so fucking doom and gloom. Because that's all they're seeing!
というより、そんな言語で書かれた重大なプログラムが存在すること自体、全く知られてなかった。
は？
第三次世界大戦はタイムマシンの開発競争が発端なんだけど、もしかすると2000年問題で発生したある事象とそれに付随する対立こそがもっと深い原因である可能性がある。
She didn't expect a 10-year-old like Kagari to understand this, but she didn't feel like taking the time to explain.
しかも西暦2000年というのは特殊な年でね、すべての世界線が一旦一つに収束してしまうらしいんだ。それに関連してこの問題があらゆる世界線の因果に重大な影響を引き起こすかもしれない。私たちが目指してる狭間の世界線、シュタインズゲートも例外じゃない。
She looked down at the terminal connected to the IBN 5100.
だからこれは2000年問題を起こさないようにするための修正プログラムなんだよ。
Right now, the terminal was converting the patch into the language used by the IBN 5100. The next step was to spread this program all around the world in the form of a virus, and the year 2000 problems that this era's engineers missed would completely disappear. The word connect appeared on the terminal's subscreen.
OK。つながった。
She'd been told that in Japan in this era, ADSL was still in the test phase, and most normal users connected to the internet by low-speed dial-up using ISDN. But in major city areas like Akihabara, universities, labs, and some big computer companies... Some major city areas like Akihabara... Or wait, no. Oh, okay, alright, I thought I misread that. I didn't. I'll read it again, because in trying to correct it, I fucked up the sentence anyways. But in major city areas like Akihabara, universities, labs, and some big computer companies were starting to use fiber optic broadband. Some of them were even using wireless LANs. Oh wait, I can pull that up. Wireless LAN. A method of connecting to the internet and sending receiving data without the use of a cable. Yes, that's basically Wi-Fi then, right? I don't know shit from fuck about computers. All I know whenever I see LAN, I think of that picture of the one LAN party where they duct tape the guy to the ceiling. I think I actually like read a thing that was someone who was actually at that LAN party saw that and we're like, yeah, it was so fucking hot in that room. We had to take that guy down after like an hour because he was going to pass out from heat exhaustion. It's like, Jesus Christ. Oh, to be a nerd in the early 2000s. Fiber optic broadband. WLAN is LAN without wires. So Wi-Fi. Or not. Again, I don't know shit from fuck about computers. Fiber optic broadband, a high-speed, high-capacity internet connection that uses optical fiber. So like the stuff from like an Ethernet cable. It's a local network. Oh, okay, I see. But wait. Wouldn't like 3 computers? Oh, I see. Okay, that's the difference. I was like, okay, there has to be a reason why these two things are called different things. But for a second I thought like, oh, is Wi-Fi kind of like Kleenex, where it's like wireless LAN would be like the official word for it, like how tissues are the official word for what Kleenex is, but we're just so used to the brand or marketing name at this point that we just call them all the same thing. But that makes a lot more sense. Instead of relying on existing telephone lines, it requires the construction of a new communications network. For this reason, adoption has taken longer than ADSL. As of 2010, 35% of Japan uses FTTH. Wi-Fi means wireless fidelity, meaning you can connect to the internet without wires on devices. All right, cool. I knew about that part, I didn't realize what LAN was, basically. Suzuha cracked her way into one of those. Dad had laughed when he said that with 2036 technology, cracking late 20th century network security was a joke. But he'd been right.
でも未来を変えちゃったらかがりたちがいた未来の世界も全然変わっちゃうんじゃないの?
Surprisingly, Kagari had gotten the gist of what Suzuha had just told her.
そういうことだ。もうあの世界は存在させない。私たちはシュタインズゲートを目指すためにここへ来たんだから。
Yeah, it's like, honestly, hearing about like old viruses on computers is like, it's really interesting. Like, I remember I watched a whole video that was about the I love you virus, or love letter virus, or whatever it's called. And it's like, man, people really would just like open any fucking application they were sent back in those days. Like, I probably could have been a hacker back in those days. That stuff is funny because a majority of it was just user error. Exactly, but the thing is, we didn't know it was user error back then. Or at least it wasn't well known. So, yeah, it's like I can kind of forgive the people of the past for doing those things. Yeah, the culture was that people weren't malicious, basically. And then in like the mid-2000s, they were like, everyone on the internet wants to kill you! Never give out any personal information on the internet ever! Someone will track you down and stuff you in a car! And now it's like, oh, if you don't give your legal name to twitter.com right now, I'm sorry, you just can't make an account. Never meet anyone you meet online, they are all pedophiles! And nowadays, it's like, oh, well, kids already just know this internet safety stuff. Twitter, what's that? I refuse to call it X. I still think that name is stupid. I'm not using it. I refuse to play those shitty little games. Also, Suzuha, you're kind of saying the wrong thing to this child. You don't know. I don't know about that one. I think kids are actually becoming less technology savvy. Yes, exactly. Like, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, because a lot of adults just assume, like, oh yeah, kids already know this stuff. They're on their phones all the time. They already know everything. It's like, no, you have to teach them. You actually have to teach them. Like, I wouldn't have known most of these things if I hadn't been fucking taught it. Yeah, imagine. Imagine if you don't tell someone about something, they're not gonna know about it. Fucking wild. Insane fucking concept. Suddenly, the uneasy look on Kaguri's face vanished. It was as if her soul had left its body. Suddenly, her face was expressionless and her eyes were wide.
声。神様の声。聞こえる。
What, huh? You hear what now?
かがり？
ダメだよ。よくないよ。ダメなんだよ、鈴葉お姉ちゃん。そんなことしちゃいけないんだ。
おい。
Kaguri was acting strangely. Suspiciously, Suzuha reached her hand out towards her, but she slipped past Suzuha's hand, and quicker than any child should be able to move, she slammed her shoulder straight into Suzuha's body. Suzuha was caught completely off guard. That's how fast it was. Kaguri's shoulder hit her in the solar plexus. She bent over and collapsed onto the seat. Kaguri tore the terminal out of Suzuha's hands. Cables connecting it to the IBM 5100 were ripped out, and errors displayed on both screens.
お前、何を？
Kaguri didn't answer the question. Instead, she grabbed the backpack that Suzuha had placed on the seat and spilled its contents onto the floor. There were MREs, spare parts, clothes, and a semi-automatic pistol. Suzuha couldn't believe it. Kaguri was going to try and pick it up. Oh fuck, the kid's got a gun! She forced herself to ignore the pain as she jumped on Kaguri's body. But another unbelievably powerful body slam knocked her back. What the fuck is up with this child? Something cold was pushed right up against her brow.
動いちゃダメ。
Kaguri's tiny hands weren't shaking at all as they clutched the semi-automatic pistol. Child heard God and got superpowers. In the space of an instant, the safety on the gun had been flipped off. That's when Suzuha realized this wasn't just a temper tantrum. Suzuha was the one who taught her how to use a gun. That's why she knew that Kaguri was perfectly calm.
正気か？今すぐ銃を下ろせ。こんな真似はやめろ。
やめるのはお姉ちゃんの方だよ。
何？
世界を変えちゃいけないんだ。お姉ちゃんはおかしいこと言ってる。
There was no hesitation in her eyes. Instead, Suzuha saw only resolve.
じゃあ、このまま戦争が起きてもいいっていうのか？
そんなのわかんないよ。かがりは元の世界に戻りたいだけだもん。
なら、もう無理だ。私たちはタイムマシンですでに過去に干渉してる。世界線だってずれてしまってるはずだ。あそこに戻れる可能性は低く。
うるさいうるさいうるさい。かがりはママを絶対に助けるんだ。この世界を消すなんてダメだよ。絶対にやらせないから。
Kaguri turned the gun towards the IBM 5100. Oh god, no, don't do it, please.
やめろ。
Damn it! Damn it, kid! Come on, no! Before Suzuha could stop her, she yanked down on the trigger. Again and again.
やめてくれ、かがり。やめろ。
And then Kaguri jumped out of the time machine, and Suzuha never saw her again. On every night that passed, she remembered Kagari. Suzuha had spent some time looking for Kagari when she'd first come to this era, but in the end, she never found anything. But Kagari Shina, who was now 22 years old, was here in Akihabara. Suzuha was sure of it. But it did no good to keep thinking about it, so Suzuha decided to stop thinking and look around the room. Itaru, her dad, was playing yet another game populated entirely with female characters. His jaw was slack and he was scratching the belly fat that stuck out from under his shirt as he played. There wasn't much to respect in him right now, either as a father or as a person. Suzuha looking at her dad, being like, "You are the most incredible pervert." I have to stop quoting other streamers.
そういえば母さんとはうまくやれてる？
ね、
大丈夫？私が生まれてこなくなるような事態にならないよね。
なんつうの？タイムマシンよりもなんだい？
ちょっと。
Daru just doing younger Daru things. Suzuha stormed over to Itaru.
困るよ、父さん。
パパ、頑張るからね。
Please don't call yourself daddy.
いっつも口ばっかり。結局、例の映画のチケットも無駄にしちゃったんでしょ？
She meant the pair of movie tickets that Mayuri and Ferris had conspired to give them at the Christmas party.
あれはさ、オカリンと吹雪氏が倒れちゃったじゃん。その後、お見舞いとかでバタバタしてるうちに映画が終わっちゃってたわけで、しょうがないっつうか。
でもその後、新しいチケットを用意しようとしたら断ったって聞いたけど。
誰に？
マユ姉さんとルミ姉さんに決まってるじゃないか。
そりゃあれだ。マユシとフェイリスターに頼りきりなんて男らしくないっしょ。キリ。
Then what work are you doing, sir?
で、自分で何か行動に移したわけ？
Exactly.
ダメだこれ。
Maybe this was a more important problem than the time machine. Suzuha brought her hands up to her head.
いい父さん。私、いつまでもこうやってお説教できないんだからね。もうすぐ行っちゃうんだよ。
Oh yeah, because the time machine's running out of battery. Suddenly there was a sad look in Itaru's eyes.
そういう顔しない。約束したはずだよ。もう迷うのはやめにしようって。
For the past 6 months, Suzuha had been thinking about whether it was really right to erase this world. But in the end, it was none other than Itaru who'd pushed her to go ahead.
ごめん。
She couldn't bear to see her father so depressed, so she patted his broad back.
しょぼくれてないで、母さんにメールして。予定の空いてる日がないか聞いて。で、空いてたら映画に誘う。
いきなりハードル高すぎ。
高すぎでも何でもいいから誘いなさい。いい？これは命令だからね。
Just do it!
命令って。
返事は？
さあ、イエスさあ。
I love that! I was expecting an okie dokie. Satisfied, she headed off to take a shower.
でもその前にちょっとだけコンビニに行ってくる。睨まないで。なるべく太らないようなものを食べますんで、何卒お許しを。
バニラ。
はい。
私、シャワー出たらアイス食べたい。バニラ。
わかった。庶民がなかなか口にできない高級なやつをいっぱい買ってきてあげる。
いっぱいはいらないよ。一つでいい。
さあ、イエス
Sir, yes, sir! God, that reminds me of us, during the Disco Elysium stream talking about chocolate ice cream. I still haven't gotten any Haagen-Dazs. I see it at the grocery store, but it's like $6 for like 2 servings of ice cream. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to motivate myself, although they do have cookie dough. So I'm very tempted. It's like, as much as I've said like rainbow ice cream and cookies and cream ice cream are my favorites, I would say that cookie dough actually beats cookies and cream. Cookies and cream is great because a lot of different places make it, and you can get it in both like ice cream and frozen yogurt, and I tend to actually go more for frozen yogurt, to be honest. But also cookie dough ice cream is just great. Satisfies the part of my brain that wants to dig up rocks in the yard. That was enough to cheer Daru up. He took his wallet and ran out of the lab.
Yada yada.
Ice milk is also very good. I've never heard. What do you mean what do you mean by ice milk? Cause like I guess that would be different from ice cream, because ice cream is cream. Oh, sorry, Vesta, please move your bum. Please move your bum. Ice milk or iced milk is a frozen dessert made with frozen dairy milk, but with less milk fat than regular ice cream. Oh, interesting. See, I'd always thought that that's basically what frozen yogurt was. I know yogurt's a different thing from milk, but at the same time, like, frozen yogurt I've always heard, like, also has, like, less fat and stuff. That's actually why I tend to go for it, because it's like, I make enough unhealthy eating choices. It's like, if I can make a slightly healthier choice instead of, you know, like, just not treating myself at all, it actually changes the flavor. We used to get the big tub of ice milk during the summer, and it was good. All right, interesting. I'll have to see if my grocery store has that. I actually recently discovered that there's an international grocery store in my town. Like, I knew that there was, like, the Latin market, but I didn't know there was just a straight-up international grocery store in my city until just this past weekend. Yeah, I checked it out, and it's funny because for a while I've been like, fuck, like, I really want to try making my own crab sushi at home, because you can get the imitation crab sticks, and they're already pre-cooked. Like, you don't have to worry about getting parasites or getting diseases or anything from eating them just as they are. But the thing is that I couldn't find the sushi to wrap the rolls in. And it's like, I know that there's, like, an Asian supermarket, like, a couple cities away from me. But, like, again, that's a couple cities away. I would need someone to drive me there. I don't have a car. So I was always like, yeah, no, that's just not gonna happen. And now it turns out that not only does this international grocery store have it, I got like 10 sheets of seaweed for like $4, which is way cheaper than I thought it would be, considering that I'm in a landlocked province. I fully expected that it would be like at least $6 or $7. So I even got like a little, one of those like mats that you use to make the rolls with. So yeah, literally all I need now, like, I know that in the international aisle in my local grocery store, they do have vinegar for sushi. And I can't find sushi rice. I'm gonna have to just go with white rice. Hopefully that'll be fine. Considering that I make, like, bastardized, like, for lack of a better word, white versions of international foods, like, a lot of the time myself anyways. It's like, yeah, that's... You know what, if I have to use white rice instead of sushi rice, that's fine. That's fine. I'll take what I can get. I mean, like I said, I live in a landlocked province, so it's like, it's wild that I can find the stuff to make sushi anyways. She had just about taken off her jacket so she could take that shower, but...
Suzuho!
Huh? Itaru had come back to the lab.
どうかした？
階段のところにさ、こんなの落ちてたんだよね。
Huh? Oh. What? Wait! That is the one that Kagari had! Itaru showed her a keychain he was holding. It was a round anime character whose color had faded to a smoky green. It was an Upa.
誰のかわかる？
まゆ姉さんじゃないの？
She leaned forward to take a closer look, and then felt like she was experiencing deja vu.
このウーパー、どこかで。
She'd seen it before? She couldn't really remember when. But her internal alarms were going off. This keychain was extremely important. Upas were common enough that you could find them anywhere. The plastic edges had worn down, the paint was faded and coming off in places. But there was no dust and there were no stains. Instead, it shone brightly, as if its owner had put a lot of effort into taking good care of it. The chain was so old that part of it had snapped off. That was probably how it got dropped.
どこだっただろう。どこかで見た。
マユシに見せてもらったとか？
そうなのかな。
She stared at the green upa in Itaru's hands, and then in her mind she heard a young girl scream. Yeah, there it is.
ママがずっと大切にしてきたウーパのキーホルダーだよ。かがりちゃんにあげる。
Mayuri really did treasure it forever and ever and ever. She gasped. A feeling of indescribable terror raced down her spine.
まさかこれかがりのか。
That was when she'd last seen it. August 13th, 2036. The day she'd gone into the time machine. That's when she'd seen this upa. It was older and more worn now, but the more she remembered that day, the more certain she became. This was the upa that Mayuri had given to Kagari. She'd seen Kagari holding it and crying to herself many times before.
かがりってもしかして未来のマユシの娘？
うん。
見つかったん？
いや、でも向こうはこっちを認識しているんだ。
つまりどういうことだってばよ。
あいつこのラボを監視してるんだよ。
Ha! And knowing what we know about Kagari's mental programming, that's not a good thing, huh? Satisfied, she headed off to take a shower. Ever since then, her careful efforts to defend the time machine had paid off, and she hadn't seen any sign of Kagari. She'd never thought that she'd be watching the lab.
いや、ちょっと考えれば当たり前のことだったんだ。あいつは私たちがシュタインズゲートに到達するのを阻止しようとしてる。この世界をなかったことにしたくないと思ってる。ということは私だけじゃなく父さんもマークされてる。
え？僕？
まあ父さんの命に危険はないとは思うんだ。世界線の摂理を信じるなら父さんは少なくとも2036年までは生きるはずだし、ただシュタインズゲート到達を阻止するために父さんの研究の邪魔はしてくるかもしれない。
Does she still have the gun is the question, too. I mean, it would be pretty hard for a kid to hide a gun for, like, 12 years? But still, it's a possibility, especially in storytelling. Where it's like, okay, we don't have to actually worry about the logistics of this. She was shown with this the last time, she might as well just still have it. A lot of bad things have been happening around Suzuha, Itaru, and Rintaro Okabe. There was some possibility that the final target was Itaru.
これからは用心のために私がいない時には
必ずドアに鍵をかけておいて。
わかったお。
オカリンおじさんや母さんやマユ姉さんたちが一緒にいても絶対に開けっぱなしはダメだよ。気休めかもしれないけどドアチェーンもかけた方がいい。
でもさ、オカリンやマユシならともかくアマネシと二人きりの時にそんなことしたらなんか別の意味で怪しくね。アマネシに変な誤解されないかな。
Fair point! Fair point! Very, very fair point!
それは確かに。
もしそれで嫌われでもしたら我が家のピンチだお。
Suzuha groaned softly, unsure of what to do.
父さんがもっと早く母さんと恋人になってれば何の問題もないのに。
で、結局そこへ話が戻るとか？
とにかく注意だけはしておいてよね。
Suzuha decided to keep the green Upa keychain. She softly ran her fingertips over it as she stared at it.
なあ鈴葉、かがりたんって血はつながってないけどマユシの娘なんだよね。
そうだよ。
あのマユシに育ててもらった子が人を襲うような恐ろしい人間になるのかな。なんか鈴葉の話とイメージが重ならないっつうか、もっと優しくてホワホワしてて可愛い女の子になってるんじゃないかなとか思ったり。
だとよかったんだけど。私も前はそうなると信じてたけど、今のかがりは多分。
From what she'd seen at the radio building, she could tell. Kagari had definitely received professional combat training. It wasn't just the simple self-defense techniques that she'd learned from Suzuha when she was a child. As she'd grown up, she'd been taught the cold techniques of a killer. There was no way to know where she'd been, or what she'd been doing, ever since she'd gone missing in 1998. But there was no doubt in Suzuha's mind that she was trying to ruin her plans. Suzuha sighed as she took her shower. Since it was summer, she'd set the water temperature low. It was barely any hotter than tap water. As long as the water was pouring down on her, she could feel like all the bad memories were being washed away. She slapped her cheeks with both hands and turned off the water. The small tiled room suddenly became quiet. In the silence, she vigorously toweled off her hair. This building was never intended for anyone to live in. Not only was there very little room, there wasn't even a place to change. It was small and there were no windows, and the steam from the shower room built up, making it an unpleasant sauna in the summer. Supposedly, Itaru and Okabe would sit naked next to the fans to get away from the heat and moisture. Of course, that was only when the girls, as well as Luka Urushibata, weren't around. But Suzuha couldn't do that. There were those huge scars on her chest. If she was careless and Yuki saw them, she'd have a big problem. So she always forced herself to change within this small space. Uh-oh. Why are the lights off? The second she left the shower room, she realized something was wrong. The lights were off in the part behind the curtain, where the lab room was. She was sure she had left all the lab lights on when she'd gone to take a shower. She didn't remember turning them off. Still completely naked, she flung open the curtain. Oh god, am I gonna have to censor? She dropped to the floor, ready to move. She could tell by the light from the shower room that there was no one else there. She didn't hear any breathing and she didn't feel any other presence. You're good from what I remember? Okay, cool.
一度戻ってきたのか。
And then when he left, he turned off the lights? No, that couldn't be right. She looked around the room and saw that things had been moved in a way that an amateur wouldn't be able to notice. Itaru's computer desk, the sofa area, the bookshelves, even the mini kitchen. Someone had gone through them all. From the look of it, the same was probably true of the development room. Suzuha glanced all over the areas where she kept her guns. The closet, the closest was the sofa that she used as a bed. She'd wanted to have one easily available if she was attacked while she slept, so she had cut out the back of one of the sofa cushions and hidden a suppressed semi-automatic pistol in it. It was just a .32 caliber for self-defense, so it wouldn't do much damage unless you had really good aim. But it was small and relatively quiet, which made it the best choice for a place like this. Suzuha tensed all of her muscles, coiling like a spring, and slowly moved towards the sofa without making a sound. As she did, she tried to notice any changes in the surrounding area. There was a small sound in the development room. It was a tiny, tiny creaking of the floor, to which she would usually pay no mind. That was more than enough for Suzuha. In an instant, she moved from quiet to action. She cleared the distance to the sofa, and in an instant, she quickly drew her gun. She held it ready and slipped into the shadow of the refrigerator. From this position, she could barely see into the development room. Oh, it's you again! The room became silent again. But this time, the intruder in the other room didn't try to hide their presence.
おかしな真似をしたら撃つ。手を頭の上に。そのままゆっくり出てこい。
Suzuha threatened the intruder in a low voice, but the intruder seemed completely unconcerned as they exposed themselves to Suzuha's gaze.
この暑いのによくそんな格好をしていられるな。ヘルメットだけでも取ったらどうだ？
The intruder was wearing a motorcycle suit just like before. Even the helmet was the same. The leather suit clung tight to their skin, revealing a voluptuous and perfectly proportioned body. It was clearly a woman.
あんたが探してるものだけどね。そこにはないよ。私の服のポケットだ。
Suzuha pointed towards the entrance to the shower room. The shirt she'd just taken off was laying there on the floor. The girl in the motorcycle suit turned her head, but because the face mask was down, Suzuha couldn't read her expression.
なあ、落としたらダメじゃないか。ママからもらった大切なものだろ。かがり。
Oh shit. The second she spoke, Kagari Shina was the first to move. She drew a deep-glossed military knife that she must have been hiding behind her back and closed the gap between herself and Suzuha in an instant. Suzuha pointed the gun on her legs and pulled the trigger, carefully aiming away from her vitals. She heard the small pop of a suppressed .32 and saw Kagari lose her balance and fall. Or she thought she did, but it was a feint. She'd only pretended to lose her balance. In fact, she'd changed directions and was heading for the shower room. It seemed her first goal was to get what she'd come for.
これは
After firing only one shot, Suzuha realized even a .32 should have more recoil than this. Oh, did they replace it with a BB gun? She fired again, but Kagari didn't flinch even for a moment.
ブランクカートリッジ。どうして？
At some point, all the bullets in Suzuha's gun had been swapped with blanks. That instant's panic was all it took. Kagari reached out for the shirt on the floor in front of the shower room.
この
Suzuha gave up on firing and flung the gun at Kagari. There was a dull thud as the hard barrel slammed into her neck. Caught off balance, she staggered before she could grab the shirt. She could hear Kagari's voice for the first time from within the helmet. Suzuha jumped. She kicked the off-balance Kagari as hard as she could with her toned, muscled legs. This was no time to hold back. Kagari went flying all the way to the edge of the room. That had to have broken a few ribs. Suzuha jumped towards her to continue her attack. But with terrifying speed, Kagari leapt off the ground and charged at Suzuha. There wasn't enough time to come to a full stop. Oh, shit! A sharp blade swept by mere centimeters from her exposed abdomen. If she'd pulled back even a few tenths of a second later, the knife would have fatally sliced open her gut.
Oh my!
The blood rushed to Suzuha's head. Kagari was serious. She was planning to kill her. There was no hesitation in her movements. Suzuha leaped back in search for something she could use as a weapon, but the other guns were probably no different. There was a good chance they'd all had their ammo swapped with blanks, too. It was even possible that all her self-defense knives had been taken, too, which left. There were several knives carefully stored in the kitchen. Yuki had brought them over to use in teaching the other girls how to cook, but Kagari had evidently noticed them as well, and she was moving to keep Suzuha from reaching them.
へえ、ずいぶん離れしてるじゃないか。とてもマシンの中でベソベソ泣いてた子供とは思えないな。驚いたよ。
Suzuha kept her distance from Kagari as she slowly moved along the wall. Her competitive drive burned even brighter as she tried to come up with a way to overcome her disadvantage.
ほら、カガリ、これだろ。
She picked up her shirt from in front of the shower room and took the green keychain out of its pockets.
どうした？取りに来なよ。
Her fingers moved as if to crush it. She could see Kagari twitch. For the first time, she could detect a hint of emotion beyond the helmet. And in an instant, she threw it at Kagari's stomach. Keychain flew in a slow arc like she was tossing it to a friend. If something they loved was thrown like that, even the fiercest warrior would instinctively reach out both hands to grab it. Kagari was no exception. She carefully held her mother's memento in her empty left hand and the right hand that still clutched the knife. Using the slow arc of the keychain as camouflage, Suzuha ran at her in a straight line. Her right fist connected hard with Kagari's stomach, then her left arm smashed Kagari's head to the side. Kagari's body fell to the ground, her right shoulder taking the brunt of the fall. Suzuha could hear the sound of her joint dislocating. The knife slipped from her grasp. Suzuha got behind her and mounted her, twisting her right arm mercilessly. Should I maybe censor this? I don't know, maybe I should. Like this, it's a little much. I'll make the crab bigger. How do I make the crab bigger? Which one is the crab? There we go. It's fine. Are you sure about this? I'll make... Okay, if I could fucking... It won't let me grab the crab. There we go. We'll just do this. We'll just do this, okay? We'll just do this. At the same time, she slipped her own left arm around Kagari's neck and squeezed hard. She could hear something like a moan from Kagari's throat. She could both hear and feel the bones in her arm and neck creaking. But Kagari picked up the knife on the floor with her left hand and once again tried to use it on Suzuha. Suzuha was forced to squeeze her arm and neck even harder. But Kagari didn't stop. If anything, she tried even harder to pull Suzuha away. I should probably actually here. I'm realizing that I'm blocking some of the text here. There we go. I mean, yeah, at that point, it's not even doing anything, is it? Sorry about that, guys. What kind of training did she get? Even in all the battles she'd been in, this much pressure on two different spots was enough to get even the toughest soldier to submit or fall unconscious. Terrified, Suzuha squeezed even harder. At this rate, she wouldn't simply knock her out. She really would kill Kagari. But if she stopped, Kagari would kill her. What should she do? And then she heard a sad, weak voice from inside the helmet. It startled her. and she relaxed both her arms. But that was just what Kagari had hoped for. The knife came very close to cutting Suzuha's left arm. When she let go to dodge it, Kagari shook her off and kicked at her hips with both legs. Suzuha was slammed back hard into the computer desk, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. She fell to the floor, and the printer and monitor crashed mercilessly into her naked body. She forced herself to stand up, gasping hard as she did so. Kagari's breathing was heavy, too. Her right arm was pointed in an impossible direction and hanging limp. She wouldn't be able to use it for a while, probably, but her left arm was still holding the knife. Suzuha glared at Kagari's face, not that she could see what it looked like behind that helmet. The two of them fell silent as they tried to catch their breath. The tension in the air was so thick that it was difficult to move a muscle. Sweat rolled down her forehead and into her eyes, but she still didn't blink as she waited for Kagari to make her next move. It was the sound of the front door opening that broke their stalemate.
Oi, Suzuha!
Suzuha felt a chill run down her spine when she heard Itaru's voice. She yelled at the exact same instant as he turned on the lights. Sudden brightness was enough to make Suzuha flinch for an instant. Kagari was wearing a full-face helmet, and that made all the difference. She leapt towards Itaru just a moment before Suzuha. Okay. And then what? Okay. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay, it just took a second. All right. You know what? I'm gonna save, actually. No. Look, I should have ended the stream 40 minutes ago. I didn't realize the Suzuha scene was gonna take this long. I'll be real. Kagari's black knife went up to his throat. Kagari spun around behind him, using Itaru's huge body as a shield. Suzuha staggered towards him, gritting her teeth. But Kagari remained silent as she headed outside the door with her hostage. And then in the next moment, she shoved him forward. Itaru lost his balance and fell towards Suzuha. Suzuha fell to the ground underneath his weight. Itaru just barely managed to support himself with his arms and legs to keep from crushing her. Suzuha tried to shove him off, using a little more force than she may have intended. But Itaru was so huge it would take him a moment to get up. She was getting away. She somehow managed to crawl out from under him and quickly tried to follow after Kagari. Itaru was still lying on the ground as he tossed the naked Suzuha her shirt. She grabbed it and quickly put it on, then ran outside. But when she looked around the street, the girl in the motorcycle leathers wasn't there. There was no way to even know where she'd gone. That seems like a decent spot to leave off on. Alright, well that sure was a fucking scene. I wasn't expecting that. Like, okay, I was expecting this to actually be, like, the end, which is why I named the stream what I did. Actually, I should move to the just chatting screen, huh? But yeah, I was expecting this to just be the end. but I guess it's not. I guess we're doing more plot stuff. It's because in the guide, the bad end is specifically called Gehenna's Stigma. So I figured, like, okay, we're at the end. We're not. It is very interesting that all of the ends are so long in this one. Like, I feel like it took us quite a bit to reach the last ending as well. And there certainly was plot. Yeah, both plot and quote-unquote plot. But, yeah, it's like, after the original Steins Gate, where all of the endings were, like, whenever you would get a bad end, it'd be, like, you know, maybe half an hour, maybe 45 minutes between, like, where it branched off. I mean, maybe it's because I branched off, like, a little bit sooner this time around. That could be it. But I feel like they are longer. I feel like these bad ends are longer. Which makes me interested to see what the fuck the true ending is going to be like. There's less endings in this one, so they put more into them. The thing is, let me actually see. Let me pull up the guide that I was using. Let me see how many there are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the real ending. So that's 6. How many endings are in Steins Gate? There are 6 different endings in the original Steins Gate as well. Maybe I'm spreading misinformation. No, I mean, I get it. Like, on the outset, like, it does seem like there would be less endings this time around, but nah, it's the same amount. It almost feels like they were like, hey, we kind of underutilized the bad end feature for a game that's all about different timelines. So I guess they just went ham with it this time. But, yeah. So, very, very interesting stuff. Was not expecting the girl in the motorcycle suit to be Kagari. I don't remember, does she show up in the last timeline at all? I mean, it would... The last timeline does explain, sort of, like, why Kagari is so good at fighting. It's because she's basically been, like, mentally programmed into it. Like, she's basically like a sleeper agent. So, it's like, I do like how all of the endings kind of connect together. Steins Gate took me 52.6 hours to 100%, while Steins Gate 0 took me 39 and 0.7 hours. Interesting. Huh. Oh, wait a second. I just read the general introduction of this guide. I've mostly just been paying attention to what it says in the ending section, but the general introduction has a very interesting thing here. The game consists of 2 routes with 6 different endings, one of them being the true ending. So I guess the reason why this is taking so long is because we're on, like, a different route than we were last time. On your first playthrough, I recommend going in blind and unlock whatever ending you get. Luckily, getting all the endings is way easier than in Steins Gate 1, since you don't have to activate as many flags. If you're worried about the achievements, you will be getting most of them, but 1 or 2 by the time you unlock all endings. So don't worry about the Rhine messages unless you go for the real ending. Read the real ending section first. Or the random phone call, since the game sometimes picks them up automatically. Amadeus calls are the ones that you should be focusing on. The real ending is pretty straightforward. You can unlock it after getting any of the endings. So if you want to get it ASAP, you can avoid all of the other endings. Interesting. Huh. Alright then, that's good to know, I guess. I didn't realize the ride messages would have anything to do with the endings. Yeah, I would imagine that reading helps when you're specifically looking at a game guide for the game that you're playing, yes. Don't know how I didn't think to do that before, but anyways, this stream's already gone on for like 45 minutes longer than I wanted it to. I have chores and shit to do, and then I've still gotta like rest a bit before I go to work tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna do the end of stream housekeeping real quick. So if you're new around here, you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll be notified when I go live on this channel. if you want to be notified about any potential delays, any potential cancellations, and any potential streams that I'm doing with friends, or if you want to see the fuck-ass Christmas tree that I hate with my life, that is my nemesis, you can go to my Blue Sky. I know that I saw my Twitter listed on here. I keep forgetting to change my fucking overlay. I need to do that at some point. I could do that. I'm pretty sure I was given the PSD file for it. I just have not, for no reason. Someday I'll learn. But my handle is the same on both sites. So just look up Cipher Novella on Blue Sky. You'll find me there. I don't really use Twitter anymore, so don't follow that one. And yeah, next stream, I believe, will be Disco Elysium with Val on Sunday. I've got to confirm with her, though. We might just be playing more Steins Gate 0. We'll have to wait and see. We'll let it be a mystery for now. So, to all of you guys, have a good night. Have some sweet dreams tonight. Have a good rest of your week. You only got 2 more days left till the weekend, baby! And I will see you all next time. Bye!